Okay, so we got the episode Avatar Day, and boy, was I off about what I thought this one was going to be about. I thought this was, just from the title, I thought it was going to be a retread of that one episode where he's praised and he lets it go to his head. Not even close, man. And I love those surprises. Instead, I got an episode that honestly, I think with the exception of the storm, so far this is my favorite episode because I really feel like I've been on like a roller coaster. And it's funny because it's not one of those that's extremely focused on a lot of story going on, but they throw so much at you. But it's never too much. It's just the right balance. It's the right balance of story. It's the right balance of character. It's the right balance of comedy. It's the right balance of drama. And it does go into furthering the story as well, and also furthering more about what we know about the characters and what they'd be willing to do and how far they can be pushed. And it all just works so great. And for the most part, there's a lot of comedy in this one. This is the one where Aang goes to an earthbending village, again, trying to learn how to earthbend, and he finds out about this something called Avatar Day, where they think it's a celebration, like what I said before, but instead it's a day where all the villagers come together and they burn the statues of the past avatars because one of the reincarnations apparently killed, I forget if it's a general or one of their leaders, but it killed someone very important to them, so some 100 years ago. And Aang sees this as, hey, as one of the reincarnations, I have the right to defend myself. And we'll look into this because what do we really know about this? This does not sound like something one of my reincarnations would do. So they agree, but they say you have to abide by our rules, and Aang kind of foolishly goes along with it, but again, it's very honorable, and I really admire that, but they don't know these rules are going to be so batshit crazy. And so you have Sokka and Katara are going to look for evidence to prove that he's innocent, while Aang is put in this prison in these shackles. That the first thing I say is, I think he can get out of that. And sure enough, as he's talking to these other prisoners, he just slips out and sort of leans on top of it. And on top of that, you have Sokka's trying to do all this research, and it's fun. It's funny because this is something that I felt, again, sort of opening up an old wound for some people, but this is something I think District 9 missed. They're doing a satire, obviously, of Sherlock Holmes. You have him with a pipe, you have him with a hat, you have him with this little magnifying monocle. Obviously, it's supposed to be Sherlock Holmes, but the reason it works, and the reason it is so funny, is because it still works in that world. If you didn't know who Sherlock Holmes was, you would still laugh at how hard he's trying to solve this case, and the fact that the stuff is still practical. He has this sort of dragon pipe that blows bubbles, but he does it to try to look more sophisticated. And he has this hat because there's a magnifying monocle on top of it. So it works even if you don't know who Sherlock Holmes is. If you do know who Sherlock Holmes is, it's even funnier, because obviously they're doing a satire of this, except it's Sokka in the role instead of Sherlock Holmes, and he's pushing his sister out of the way, trying to solve it, and that's incredibly funny. And that's why, like I said saying District 9 didn't work, because the satire and the very obvious commentary they don't exist in that world. They only exist as a means to push this commentary, and this still works in its world. That's why the comedy in this one is so good. It is so funny, but on top of that, you also have great stuff with Zuko and the uncle, who split ways in this episode, and it's not obvious they're gonna do that. And it's a hard split. It's really difficult, and it's another. Zuko's the one who initiates it, and you can kind of see him doing it. You could see it happening, but you wouldn't predict it. And again, that's a great surprise from a character, and this episode has so many great surprises in it and great twists in it. You have this predicament where Sokka and Katara, they're trying to prove Aang's innocence, but then you have this twist that the king of this Earth nation just wants to. The way it works is that he just decides. There's no real evidence. He just decides what he feels he wants to do, even if it's not right or wrong. Some great commentary in there, in my opinion, about certain laws and justice and stuff in America. So I mean, screw America. All over the world, this happens. I mean, there's things that aren't fair, but some people just want it because it's what they want. And I like this episode kind of addresses that, and they won't even look at the evidence. They won't even hear it or think about it. So that's great. But then there's another great twist when they're trying to prove Aang's innocence, but it turns out the reincarnation did kill this one person. But then there's another twist in how exactly it happened, because the person was a tyrant, and it wasn't necessarily on purpose that this guy was killed. She tried to get away, but through a crack that she caused separating these two nations, which is an awesome scene, by the way she splits it's really cool. We also have him falling off because he stayed there, which is technically her fault, and she still takes responsibility for it. And sure enough, they spin this wheel of torture, whatever it was, and he's gonna be boiled in oil or something. But then at the last minute, the Fire Nation comes in, and again, Aang's gonna stick to his punishment. Again, very honorable thing to do. And if they want Aang to save the day, well, I'm gonna be boiled in oil. What can you do? And the guy turns the wheel a little bit more and says, "Aha! Community service! You serve the community by stopping the Fire Nation here." So that all these little twists and all these developments and new surprises. Like I said, it's the first time we actually saw. It's Kiyoshi? Is that how you say it? Forgive me if I'm getting the name wrong. Her coming into Aang's character, they're taking on her form in his body, I mean, was a legit shock. I mean, every time that happens, they use that just the right time, because I didn't even know he could do that, or she could take over the body like that. I sort of assumed it was just this one guy like the last one, but it shows now that any of them can. And so there's nice little surprises like that. And it's also good to know that these reincarnations will come in when it's really needed. And this is needed not just for Aang, but it's needed to set the record straight on history, on something that has caused this really great prejudice and this destruction of a good name, even if parts of it were true. So there's great twists in this one. There's great energy in this one. This one is just constantly moving and constantly throwing stuff at you, but it's not all story. It's a lot of characters. It's a lot of environment. It's and it is a lot of plot too. But it also has slow moments. Like I said, the moments with Zuko and the uncle are very effective and they're very good. You finally see what happens with the blue spirit coming in. How did he get that costume, by the way? He's blown out of the airship, or not the airship, the Fire Nation ship, which is not a submarine. I got that wrong. Sorry, they look like submarines. But he's blown out of there. Did he just grab the blue spirit outfit and the mask and everything when he was shot out of there? So I don't know, but bottom line, he has this costume and he's using it to rob, and the uncle doesn't know about it. And again, Zuko realizes he has to split ways because, God, and for a number of reasons. Probably it could be he knows their ideologies are very different, and I think Zuko thinks that's going to slow him down. And he really appreciates his uncle, but he can't be slowed down. He feels he has to find his own path as well. And I think he appreciates his uncle's help, but he needs that space. Very true of, a teenage boy growing up. So, but it's a hard split, and it's very dramatic. And I was shocked for all the comedy that's in this. Very good comedy, and very fast comedy. How strong the dramatic moments were when the other avatar comes and takes over Aang's body, when Zuko has to split from his uncle. I mean, these are strong moments, and they're very poignant moments, but at the same time, it's so quick in the other moments, but when it gets these other moments, it keeps it so slow and quiet and calm. And it's a perfect balance. And it's so rare that I see that they can throw so much comedy, but also so much drama. Something like The Storm is mostly drama, and you need that. But this was the first episode I saw where I was like, wow, this is just like perfect, like a really perfect balance of everything. I say, if I had to nitpick, the only two problems I had was, and this is just a style thing, when a character can go like from here suddenly like to back there in a jump cut for the sake of comedy, I get it. It's just awkward to me unless it's really used at a perfect moment. But like when Sokka's investigating, suddenly he's here, then suddenly he's back here, and then he's here, and he's looking at this, and I don't know. It's like I need a smear cut there. It's like, I need to see a little bit of the movement. If you're gonna do that, it has to be at a very funny moment. If he's just looking around, doesn't do much for me. And then the only other thing I'll talk about is, the foaming mouth guy. It's a magic that could only be done once. And I know probably everybody loved it and they felt they should do it again because it got such a big laugh. And kudos, you want to bring back something that a lot of people liked and you even did a little variation. But it was such a special moment in comedy. It can't be replicated. I appreciate the effort, but man, you just can't duplicate it. The first time was so funny. So those are the tiniest of nitpicks. But again, being a comedian, I like to talk about comedy. So, yeah, I really enjoyed this episode greatly. It probably, like I said, my second favorite probably to the Storm. Even though there's more dramatic episodes and episodes that even have heavier stuff, I would argue, I felt like I said, it was just a rush of stuff, and it was so much fun, and it was so funny, and then when the dramatic moments happened, they were really shocking, and they had good twists that surprised me, and I was in every single moment it gave me. When it wanted to make me laugh, it made me laugh. When it wanted to make me be invested in the characters, I got invested in the characters. When it wanted me to sort of hear this subtle commentary, I was hearing the subtle commentary. Everything it was trying to do, it accomplished. So, as I said, even though it's probably not one of the heaviest dramatic ones, I think everything it wanted to hit, it pretty much hit a bullseye with. So I really, really enjoy this episode. So, yeah, that's about it. And I will see you at the next episode. Again, a really great one.